everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the weekly Handmade Chat. My name is Elizabeth. I'm an artist and I sell art online, and I like to talk about all things art related and specifically art business. So if that's something you're interested in, you are in the right place. And when I say handmade art as well, I'm not just talking about things that you make with your hands. I'm talking about drawings or anything like that, and even those that are applied to print-on-demand products, which is what I largely do. So don't feel like you're in the wrong place if you're doing print-on-demand as well, because that is what I do. So today I thought I would talk to you about 10 different skills that you need as an art business person, especially in this day and age, especially if you sell art online. And these skills are things that I don't see a lot of people addressing to beginners out there. A lot of people are selling this idea that as a beginner, you don't have to have any knowledge. You can just kind of jump on and, throw a design together, put it up on Etsy, and it'll just start selling like hotcakes. And then what I see is a lot of people doing that and getting really disappointed when that's not the case. What I will say is that I'm not trying to discourage anybody from going out there. The only way that you're going to be successful is by starting where you are and with the skills that you have. So by all means, don't feel like you have to become an expert in these 10 skills before you go out and start on Etsy. But it is just something that you want to keep in mind, because these are all skills that you should be actively trying to learn and addressing as you grow your business. So the first skill is going to be kind of obvious, and I wrote these on paint swatches because you guys, we have a camper that we can't decide what to do with. It's a 1965 Trotwood, which is a Can-Ham camper, and we keep fluctuating between selling it or painting it and designing it. So we've gotten a bunch of these. We keep going and getting paint swatches, so I have a lot of these. So I thought I'd write these on paint swatches today. So that's a little aside, but there you go. Okay, so the first is design, and I'm gonna hold this back here so it'll focus. Design or product creation. So obviously, if you're going to sell something, you have to have something to sell. And it needs to be something that is going to stand out from the just average things that you could get at any retailer. Because there are cute designs that they have all over the place at Target, at any shop in the mall. So like Old Navy, you're gonna find some cute patterns and designs. So unless you're offering something truly unique, it's going to be hard to compete with those companies. So when you're coming up with your design, that also includes understanding who that design's for and what your niche is. So if you are targeting kids who like sports, that's a specific niche. If you're targeting moms who like to garden, that's another specific niche. So trying to find that out ahead of time is really great. You can start with just a general store on Etsy where you don't have those specific niches. But I find if you can, the sooner you can kind of target that area that you think is going to be more specific, then that's going to be good. So with design or product creation, you want to work out any little kinks. So if you are designing on print-on-demand products, you want to be able to at least order one sample of what you are creating to make sure that the colors are going to be printing correctly, that you have the right dimensions, that nothing is going to be distorted, and that the product itself is going to be a good quality product for people to purchase. If you are creating your own product, you want to, like say you're a ceramicist who's creating mugs, you want to create some products that you actually use yourself and kind of see what are the good things about these products as I'm using them, what are the bad things, what could I improve upon? And I think a good designer is constantly looking at ways to make their products even better for the customer. So try to work out all of those things before you list, because obviously if you list a bad product and then people start purchasing that and leaving bad reviews, that can tank your store. So you want to try to work out those things first. If you're print on demand, please order at least one sample of the product that you're largely selling before you start selling it. After you've gotten a lot of reviews, you can then maybe start to incorporate some other products that you haven't ordered yet. It's not the best practice. And then you can look online to see if there are reviews from other sellers that will give you an indication of how well that product is performing. Because obviously other people are selling that product as well. So if you go and look at those types of comments, you can kind of look at what people have said about the specific product itself, not necessarily the design, because your design is going to be different. And that way you'll know if there's a ton of negative reviews about the specific product, you'll know not to include that in your shop without necessarily having to order it. But when you're starting out, make sure that you order at least one sample. Okay, so that's design, product creation. The second very important skill is bookkeeping. It's not a glamorous skill, but it is super important. So as an artist, as someone who has an art business, it's really common, especially starting out, to, I guess, discredit your time and how valuable it is in terms of being compensated. And I know when you're starting out, you're probably not going to be making a ton of sales. So take that with a grain of salt, but know that you need to price your products so that you will be making a decent profit in order to make this worthwhile. Because, it could be a hobby if you just make so many things that you want to sell them and you don't really care about making a profit. You still don't want to lose money because there's money that goes into this, so you still need to do some bookkeeping. But most people go into an art business because they want to make at least a little bit of a profit. So I have a spreadsheet, and I'll link that below, that I use to help price my products. And that really keeps things, I find it keeps things, on the plus side for me. So I don't lose out on Etsy fees. I don't lose out on advertising or things like that. I'm making profit on every single product that I create through print on demand. Now that is a print on demand specific spreadsheet. If you are an Etsy crafter or somebody who makes something with their hands and you are looking for a spreadsheet for that, I'm going to be working on one of those. So I just check back with my shop soon, and hopefully I will have a spreadsheet for that as well. So anyway, other than pricing your products to make sure that you make a profit, you also want to make sure that you are keeping tabs about all of the products that you sell and keeping tabs on the profit that you're making monthly. Most people are going to be registering their businesses as either LLCs or sole proprietorships with their states. And in doing so, you have to remit your sales tax to your state. So Etsy does that for you, but you still need to make sure that you have an accurate understanding of what you're making so that you can do your taxes at the end of the year. And if you are doing anything on a website, that you also have those sales taxes that you're collecting and then remitting back to your state. It is somewhat tedious, but it's not incredibly difficult. But again, bookkeeping, super, super important. Also important, SEO research. So SEO research, if you don't know what SEO is, it's search engine optimization. So when somebody looks for your item using a search engine, a search bar, is it coming up in the first page or the second page? Is it easy to find? And creating search engine optimized titles, tags, really helps your product get found when people are looking for types of products in your niche. So you can use sites like eRank and Everbee to do this kind of research. I would absolutely recommend those over just searching on Etsy, because Etsy has its own algorithm for each person that shops there. They know what you have looked at in the past, and they'll suggest things that they think are going to be more specific to you. So you're not going to get an accurate idea of what your search results are going to be unless you use an outside tool like eRank or Everbee. There are other ones as well. Those are just the two, I think, most popular ones that most people use. I personally use eRank, but I am no SEO expert on it. I just kind of know the basics. So there are lots of different resources you can get out there for eRank. I use the free version. It is free, and then you can do a paid version, which gives you a lot of more in-depth information, but it's not necessary. So I would look into that especially if you have an Etsy store. It's really good for the Etsy algorithm and kind of figuring that out. So, okay, enough about SEO optimization. Now you need shop management. So shop management is that day-to-day managing of your shop. I had a shop where I was selling one product, I'd say 2 or 3 times. It was a product that was a digital product, and I was selling 2 or 3 of these a day. And I didn't realize, it was just kind of on auto because it was such a popular product. I did not realize that I only put 100 as the amount of items that I had in there. And I quickly ran out of items to sell, even though it's a digital product. I have infinite amounts of it that I can sell. But I didn't realize that for about 2 days. And it wasn't a very expensive product, but I probably lost out on, $40 worth of sales in those 2 days because I wasn't paying attention and making sure that that product was available. And that product is the main reason that people go to I have multiple Etsy shops, but that specific Etsy shop to purchase. So that's just one example of how your management of your shop is really important. But things like, are you going to offer free shipping? Are you going to offer the normal shipping, but then maybe free shipping over 35? Are you going to run Etsy ads? I'm somebody who doesn't run Etsy ads because I believe that you can utilize their algorithm if you have good SEO research. Now on my website, sometimes I would run Facebook ads and do things like that. But again, that's where you have to look at not only your shop management, but your bookkeeping as well and see if that's a possibility. And then also with your shop, do you have photos of yourself? Do you have photos of your process? Do you have information that's going to make the customer feel more comfortable in purchasing from you? So that's really what I'm talking about with shop management, making just that day-to-day kind of tweaking, looking at, and making sure that your shop is running well and it's healthy. And there's a lot of these other skills are going to go into maintaining that. All right, with that in mind, it's got a little blurred here, but photographer or mock-up maker is the next skill that you're going to need. If you're somebody who makes a physical product, you want to have nice, well-lit, good quality, sharp photos. And luckily, we live in a day and age where most people have cell phones that can take remarkable photos. But I think if you just go with the default photography, it can be fine. But there are so many things that you can do to help your photos stand out just a little bit more or help with the branding. When I used to photograph my jewelry, I used to go outside and I would find just anything in nature. I would find like rotted logs and kind of lay the jewelry inside of there to create like this really cool organic natural texture behind it. I created sterling silver jewelry, so the silver would really pop against that kind of dark grainy wood. And then I would find in the fall, I would find leaves. I would find kind of these earthy backgrounds that I could use. And that went with my brand. If you do that consistently, you create a kind of consistent image throughout, then that's really going to help with your branding. Along with that, learning more and more about your phone's camera, or if you can get a DSLR and learn more about that, that's really going to help you with your photography as well. Creating a shallow depth of field where your product is in focus, but then the things in the background are kind of like this right now. I'm in focus and the things in the back are out of focus. That can be really great for bringing the focus into your specific product. Learning things like how to frame a product well so that you have leading lines into your products so that people's eyes are drawn in. So all of those things, there's just a wealth of knowledge about photography that you could just really dive into. And it can just be endless learning on that, which could be fun because photography is kind of a neat thing. I used to teach photography in high school, so I really like kind of talking about that. And maybe I'll do some more videos on photography and framing and things like that. Okay, so with photography, oh wait, and I forgot mock-up maker as well. So if you're somebody who does print on demand and you don't have a physical product for every single design that you're making, you want to be good at making mock-ups. And I did, I'm not sure if I made a video about this or not. I think I made one, but I maybe didn't post it because I didn't like it. But I'm going to make another one if I didn't. And if I did, I will link that down here about how to use Canva to make mock-ups and to take out the background of your mock-up on Printify or whatever print-on-demand service you're using, and put it into a new background, add some elements to it to really kind of pop it up and make it look unique. So look into Canva. You can also use Photoshop. I use Photoshop for a lot of my mock-ups as well. But not everybody has access to Photoshop because it is a little bit pricier. So kind of do what works best for you. But you can look into ways to just bump up your mock-ups a little bit more so that they're not the generic print-on-demand mock-ups that everybody uses. All right, so on to the next one, video editor. So you don't have to be a really skilled video editor, but anymore, there are a lot of sites that are going to use video to sell your products. So sites like TikTok, sites like Instagram, and even Etsy itself. If you're on Etsy, those little 15-second videos, listing videos that you can create are going to get more eyeballs to your products. Now, I did make a video on how to create one of those using Canva, and I will link that down below as well. But that is a great way to just get more people to look, because I think it's only like 30% of Etsy sellers actually have videos. And video, it's just like anything else. If you see something moving out of the corner of your eye, you are going to look at it. So if you've got an entire page of listings and only a couple of them have that moving video that kind of auto plays, your eyes are going to be attracted to those moving videos. So if you can do those, that's going to just give you that added advantage over the other sellers. But then beyond like your e-commerce platform, Etsy specifically, just any social media, that's video is going to be so important going forward. And just having a basic understanding of how to edit your video together can make a huge, vast improvement in your sales. Okay, so I won't go too far in depth into video because I've already created a video on how to edit video in Canva, so I will link that below. But now moving on to the other skills. Another skill is customer service. I think this is one skill that people, a lot of online sellers sorely lack. I think I'm pretty good at it. I really try to put myself in the buyer's shoes and try not to take things too personally. I think a lot of times as artists, if we hear any critical feedback on our products, we immediately get defensive and say, well, this person didn't read that, or this person didn't really read the fine print. But coming from somebody who is trying to think about what it would feel like for me, I'm a busy mom, I'm like looking at a product, I buy it, I get it, and it's not what I wanted. As long as they're not being rude with you and they're saying, oh, I didn't see that it said that it would take 7 days to ship or something, I try to work with them. Obviously, I have a policy where there's no returns. But if I can say to them, oh, I'm really sorry that this happened to you, and if I can provide as many possible solutions as possible without having to eat into my profit, if I can say, I'd be happy to give you another one at cost, you would just have to pay this, or I'd be happy to in the future do this or that. You can come up with your own scenario, but I would try to go out of your way to make people feel seen, understand their frustration. I always apologize that they're going through this frustration and say, I'm here to help. I try to be as available as I can, basically. And I will say most of the time people are really nice. I've gotten occasionally, there was a guy who basically tried to extort me. He said, I'll leave you a bad review. You know, the first email he sent was, I'm going to leave you a bad review unless you give me all these free products. And am I going to go out of my way for that guy? Absolutely not. But most of the people who contact me have legitimate concerns, and I try to look at it from somebody who would be in their shoes. And I think the more you do that, the better people are going to feel about interacting with you, and the more likely they are to purchase from you again and to leave a good review. So that's good. That being said, don't be a hostage to people over reviews. Again, if somebody's being a jerk, they're being a jerk. So what I would do, if you're unsure, if you think that maybe you're misinterpreting it, is get a second opinion. If you can kind of read it to somebody else and see what they think about it, sometimes they can take their personal feeling out of it, and they can give you a more objective viewpoint of what's going on. So if you're not sure, definitely ask somebody else in your life for their opinion. All right, so another skill that we need, this is the second to last skill, so it's going to be over here soon, but social media manager. Guys, I am not the best at social media. I'm going to admit it. I really try, but it's challenging for me. And I think it's challenging for a lot of people. I'm Gen X, so I am not, I don't even have TikTok. I have Instagram, Pinterest. I really like Pinterest. But I find that social media is not my strong point, but I'm working on it. What I would do if I were you, and again, I'm not the best with social media, so take this with a grain of salt, but I wouldn't try to spread yourself too thin, because you can spend almost as much time on social media as you do making your products, which, you know, at that point, it's probably, I'd say, you know, you've got to weigh how you want to spend your time. As a business person, as somebody who wants to make art as a living, I don't want to spend all my time on social media. But that being said, try to pick a couple different social media platforms. So I've chosen, at least for the first couple months of this year, to focus on Instagram. And I'm trying to do the best I can to post a video a day, because that is supposedly what's going to grow your Instagram account. But sometimes it's challenging. As somebody who draws on the iPad, luckily, if for those of you who don't know about this, the iPad allows you to, whenever you start a new document on there or a new canvas, it auto records it. So you can create these time lapses of you drawing. I mean, it's not really you don't see your hand, but you see what's going on the screen and how that's coming together. So what I've been doing is I've just taken those time lapses, because I draw a bunch of smaller drawings and then put them together on one big product at the end. So I take all those smaller drawings that are on individual canvases, and I put those onto my reels on Instagram, so that I kind of have these daily videos of drawings, and then that kind of incorporates into that final product that I reveal once it's all done. So I thought that was a good way of not spending too much time on Instagram, but also creating content that's a little bit more engaging than just putting a post up. Because usually, from all the information that I've seen, the videos tend to get more eyeballs than just a post on your account. The other thing with social media, and this is where Canva comes in handy, is making sure that you are using the most appropriate and the most effective size for each type of social media. So an Instagram reel is going to be a certain dimension to that. A Pinterest pin is going to have a certain dimension that's going to be the most effective, the most eye-catching, and probably get you the most clicks. So make sure you're not just putting like a square document up for each of your social media posts. You want to make sure that you're using something that is going to be the most effective. And if you go to Canva, they have those in default. So you can do a Pinterest pin, you know, when you create a new document, or you can do an Instagram reel, and that will just automatically get you the right size. So just keep that in mind, and you can do that through other design software as well, or you could just write down the dimensions, and then when you create a new document in Photoshop, you can just save that as a default and then go back and back again to create new Pinterest pins in Photoshop if you want to do it that way. So lastly, and this is kind of with social media, but branding and marketing. So branding and marketing is super important because you want to be recognizable as a brand. And branding is not the products you create. It is the brand colors that you have chosen to incorporate. It's your logo. It's your overall kind of feel of your business. So if you thought about like 4 adjectives that described your business, that would be your brand, as well as colors, as well as typography. You want to always use the same typography, always use the same colors, and have a very clear, recognizable logo. Those are the most important things. If you're doing photography, maybe put your brand colors in the background of your photography so that you constantly reuse that brand color and that becomes recognizable for your specific brand. Now, when I'm talking about these colors though, I don't mean that your products have to be fitting within that color scheme. Absolutely not. You can have all different types of colors, as long as there's some clear, concise, visual consistency throughout your products that ties them back to you. But you don't have to have all of those brand colors that you've chosen be in all of your products. That's definitely not necessary. You can just kind of use it for your overall branding. Now, what I do usually do, and what I would encourage you to do, is put a logo into every single one of your main listing photos on your site. Just because when people share those online, they're going to have that logo, and it also it won't prevent people from stealing your designs, because unfortunately that is rampant, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult, because sometimes people are just so lazy, they will just literally take a photo and stick it on somewhere. And at least if you have your photo on there, that will let people know that you have some claim to it, hopefully. But that's it. Those are 10 things. Whew, that was a lot. But those are 10 things that you need to know as an online business person. And I will say, as somebody with a family too, as a mom who is momming, I'd say as much time, if not more, than I am businessing. Be a multitasker too. I know that like people tend to say that multitasking is impossible, and I tend to think that it is as well. But there are ways that you can carve out little moments of time for yourself to do your business. But I also think it's really important to drop the business stuff and focus back on the things that matter to you outside of your business. So put the phone away when it's time to play with your kids. And I'm really working on that myself, because especially if you get an email from a customer, you want to get back to them as soon as possible. But I try to set aside as much time as I can to just be present and focused. And I think that's good for your mental health, and I think that's good for your family health too. But just to show you how like much of a scatterbrain and a mom I am, I literally have coffee on my shirt that I just gave up. I was like, I was rushing out the door with my son today, dropping him off, and I thought I'm not changing. So, pick your battles, pick your things that you are, that is worth using your time for. And for me, I'm just going to pull up my bib overalls a little bit more and say, that's it. So with that, I want to say thanks again for checking in, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you then. Bye.